7:05, and it's International Yoga Day. I'll start. I'm not going to make much commentary about the text itself, Yoga Song. I will simply announce the chapter title and the chapter number, and then do the reading. I have 6 readings, each of them from 2 to 4 minutes, some quite short, others a little longer. Thank you for tuning in from Internet land, and if you're interested, this book has been published on Amazon today, Yoga Song, by me, Gregory Ormson. Thank you. Chapter 17, Transforming the Emotional Body. Louis Netz, former director for Harley-Davidson's Styling and Graphics Department, once said, "Form and function both report to emotion. When we observe a yoga pose, or the stylish symmetry of a Harley cutting a sharp curve, it's easy to believe motorcycles are about speeding through turns and yoga about perfectly executed and aligned asanas. And it's true that a yogi on a mat and a Harley on the highway perform their function to a high degree. But the power of yoga, like the allure of a great motorcycle, is in its move from high function to strong emotion. This awareness is the beginning of yoga's emotional rescue. It's an apt illustration of how the form and function of yoga connect to emotion. If one is aware of their emotional body through meditation, journaling, or deep reflection, yoga will put them directly in touch with emotional awareness. Recently, a friend of mine went to a Carlos Santana concert. He wrote that it was a spiritual experience, and I asked what he meant by that. He responded, "Music always moves me, but his words were filled with grace and love. The mixture of children's photos throughout the world smiling and dancing, and then he issued a call to rise up above the hatred. The music just echoed the experience. It went deep with me." It's no surprise to hear that music does this. It's also what the yoga song of your body does in practice. Yoga, like music, is a visual, emotional, acoustic, vibrational, and feeling-based experience in the moment. It goes deep. And when the yogi listens to the yoga song of their own body, yoga takes them to work on transforming the emotional body and vice versa. It may very well lead to an engaging a professional therapist, because through yoga, many emotions rise from the deep well of biological and cerebral memory. All it takes is the yogi's attention to the emotions of the body, which leads them, like music, to go deep and transform the emotions that truly hold the steering wheel of form and function. The second reading from chapter 2, Om. Lyrics from Woodstock by Joni Mitchell suggest that we are made of cosmic energy and matter. We are stardust, we are golden, we are billion-year-old carbon. We seldom hear such grandiose and luminous words to describe our being, but when we yoga, we are just that, shining and grand billion-year-old carbon, participating in a pattern that moves the stars and positions us to touch an inner Om at the core of our being. In the soft chant of Om, rooted and expressed from the core, our cares are set free, allowing us to take notice of our deepest truth. We are beings at one with a divinely animated critical mass of stardust and carbon, waiting to meet, greet, and welcome us home. When observing children and adults, it becomes obvious that adults have lost their spontaneous, joyful ability to live in the moment. Somewhere along the way, our freedom and joy took flight when we traded our truest selves, luminous and stardust beings, for the false narratives that dim the light and joy of our being. Most of us realize that yoga conducts a therapeutic alignment within us. Our actions, our emotions, our thoughts are cleansed and rewritten, what Carl Jung called psychic hygiene. Yoga gives us a chance to find this luminous being by focusing attention on the inner Om. It's not a new idea. Lucille Paul wrote in The Yoga of Sound, meditation on Om offers us the direct experience that everything in the universe is held together by divine breath. Creating the sound of Om and meditating on its meaning invites us to experience this divine breath that the Hebrews called Ruah, the Greeks called Pneuma, and the yogis call prana. In the moment of Om, divine breath pauses our strategic and analytical brain while firing the existential and experiential brain. We chant Om and discover that the only thing missing was our awareness, that we are living embodiments to the truth of Joni Mitchell's words, beings made of stardust, formed in spirit, animated by breath, joyful and spontaneous at heart. The directions to get back home are clear. First, slow down and breathe. Then focus attention and let the mind steady to a concentrated gaze. And finally, at the end of practice, take a moment to come home to self. Coming home to self, some may chant the sonorous Om of creation. Others may vocalize a heartfelt Namaste. Some may sing their yoga song in their asana and in their own way. And for some, a silent song of the heart, fostered in meditation, gives rise to a deep consciousness. This is yoga's song, arising in the body electric in a primordial consciousness both unique and universal, the luminous internal Om, a well-trod path, providing yogis with something the broken world cannot, the deep abiding peace of coming home. The third reading from chapter 10, Yogi, heal thyself. Yoga's strategic reversal for healing is different from commonly held ideas of healing. Yoga moves energy from the body to the mind and spirit. A happy reversal which employs the physical self to heal the mental and spiritual self. One example of how this body energy works on the mind and spirit is the healer through humble warrior posture, the Baddha Virabhadrasana pose. In a humble warrior, the yogi's head is down to embody an attitude of devotion or reverence. The crown of the head stretches forward, completely exposing the yogi's neck. The gaze focused and downcast, as if avoiding eye contact. With one foot forward and one foot back, hands clasped behind the back, stretched toward the sky, the humble warrior is vulnerable to an approach from every direction. In this physical posture, the yogi is vulnerable and therefore open to learning about their needs. As a humble warrior, the yogi bows in submission to an imagined guru, as one to whom the warrior serves. This imagined guru observes the yogi's oblation and the defining attributes of a warrior in service: trust, focus, humility, and discipline. It's a posture symbolizing the complete offering of humble warriors in service to something beyond themselves. The yogi or therapist responding from this attitude of humble warrior creates a healing oasis anywhere and anytime. It was Carl Rogers who penned the idea of unconditional positive regard for others, and this is the key to how the healer heals self. They do so by letting go of pride and expertise, leaning into the art of humility, and offering positive regard to self and others. There's no need to overanalyze this, because it's an energy thing, a trust thing, a service thing, a presence thing. Inner healing is not about ego. It's about unconditional, no exceptions, positive regard for all other people and ourselves. Reading number 4 from chapter 5, Making Heroes. After a couple years practicing in Hawaii, I attended my first yoga workshop where the leader provided updates on the physiological benefits of poses and postures for alignment. But it was in the one known as camel or ustrasana where his teaching led to insight and change. Camel is the deep back bend into maximum extension of the spine. It's written that improvements from this pose include flexibility of neck and spine, stimulation for thyroid and parathyroid glands. And the workshop leader went on to say that this back bend is a heart-opening pose and reminded the yogis in attendance that an emotional reaction to camel was common. Pointing to his heart as the organ which should be at the highest position during camel, he may have even said, "Lift up your hearts." Hearing this, I recalled my days as a ritual leader, and I heard my voice chant the phrase, "Lift up your hearts," known from the 3rd century as the Sursum Corda in the Christian liturgy, the portion previous to the Eucharistic prayer. Following the teacher's directions, I arched back while letting my head hang. I pushed forward with waist and thighs, pausing to check the tuning of my body, and then proceeded into a deeper bend, lifting my chest and heart, all the while pushing forward with waist and thighs. From a deep place, the grief and celebration and joy of my life hit me hard and fast. I heard the plaintive notes of an organ, and in my mind I was moving to an old song chant. I was at an altar chanting. I envisioned Abraham lifting the body of his son, poised to strike a dagger into his heart. But in my body, I was sweating in a Hawaiian hot yoga room, becoming an embodiment of a camel. Drops of sweat camouflaged the tears coming to my eyes. I was a hero on his knees, actively working to know the truth of his story. It was an emotional pain coming forward to the surface of my consciousness, matched by the physical stress of the pose. I wanted to come out, but I stayed. And in those seconds, yoga became my kneeling prayer and my embodiment in spirit and flesh. And then I heard the yoga gospel in the word, change, the signal to come out of the pose. Today, I lift my heart and chant a new liturgy, a new song. It's built on a foundation of trust in the journey, a lifting up, which is my new song, a yoga hero song, one that has molded me like a palm tree swaying in strong wind, formed to bend, but not break. Reading 5 from chapter 14, Yoga, a Breath-Centric Community. I say inhale and watch and witness yoga's remix taking place as students root in their asana and arch upward. I offer another caring command to exhale as they breathe and fold into a shape that appears to both stretch and compress their bodies at the same time. The yogis before me are blending the force of opposites in their postures by bringing together upper and lower body. In seconds, they release from the pose, and I can almost exhale in a deep almost hear their spines, and yet below the surface, we are all cobra and camel, and every human is a living embodiment of a primal organic movement. I glance around and look at the outline of my community. They become new on a daily basis as they take up yoga. They act on faith to get here, so I act on faith to teach, as the practice of yoga meets them with its global and spiritual energy. As a teacher, I set the route, and when ready, they follow the road home to themselves. Breath by breath, a universal pilgrimage presses them to question their motives and boldly ask, "Why am I here?" When the question arises, yoga song takes over, and they remember their courage. They stretch into their containers of reform and travel back to the beginning once again. The sun is setting in this outdoor studio, and I look and see them as hopeful as they tiptoe into newness. They sip nectar from an oxygen-rich moment. The western light, partially eclipsed by earth, illumines their faces with golden rays as they play dead to integrate the last breathing moments of the best previous moments. Alone, quiet, and on the floor, they exhale on their backs, releasing into Savasana, and become still as corpses, decomposing into the ground. The final reading from the epilogue. Many years ago, when far from the waters of Hawaii where yoga first tumbled me, I set out on a solo 3-day vision quest in a barren land that Wyoming residents call the Red Desert. Before my quest began, I spent 2 days training in the Lakota way. Once I walked into the desert, I would not see or eat, I would not see anyone or eat anything for 3 days. My instructions were simple and focused. Drink water, pay attention. For yoga, I would give the same instruction today, only adding the admonition to breathe. I expected my vision quest would challenge me, but also help me connect to that with which I had not yet connected. I didn't know it, but at the time, I was already doing the work of yoga. At dawn on the scheduled day, I walked into the desert to seek a new vision. My intention was to strip away all distraction in my experiment with truth and give it my full attention with all my being. This is what yoga is to me now. It's a stripping away of distraction. It takes preparation and intention. It takes a time and place for me to build my satyagraha. In the Red Desert, I learned from the birds that if I had a song to sing, I had to sing it. It wasn't about how well I sang, but that I did. And this is why I've written Yoga Song. It's not about how well I write or sing my yoga, but that I do. Like most Western yogis, my practice draws only a small amount from the deep well of yoga's healing waters. I've inherited the Hatha tradition, a practice of equal and opposite forces in action. This does not make me an expert in yoga, rather it opens me to become a seeker for the meaning of my forceful encounter with yoga that puts the dance between matter and consciousness front and center. My response as yogi, the sacred seeker to the sacred center, is to treat my yoga encounter as an I to thou, my martial art of the soul. There are no rules about what a yogi must accomplish, but when they are present, the yogic experience takes place in multiple dimensions. I believe every yogi experiences on a conscious and unconscious level, both the heard and the unheard, the seen and the unseen, the felt and the not felt. When I am present in my yoga, I receive it in gratitude. This stands as the truth of my experience. A seeker, a yogi, a humble warrior, one in gratitude for every song. Namaste, friends and yogis. It's time now for me to do some sun salutation with those who are here. Thank you.